Indicators are indication of price action. Step 1, go to your Studies tab, click on your trend indicator, and what does that mean? When you're looking at the broader market like the DIA, 1 year, 1 day, the indicator is giving you the indication that price is going down. If the trend indicator is pointing lower, you'll want to look for trades up against resistance in the red band area. The way you can customize this is using the channel width 105, band thickness 105, lower band green, upper band red. Step 1 in finding the perfect trade, use the broader market QQQ, DIA, SPY to confirm the direction of the trend. In this case, it's a downtrend, meaning downtrend down trades. Next, scan your favorite search, like weeklies or sector or industries. When you find a stock in a downtrend coming up into resistance, save it to your watch list. R for Rider System, 1 day, 1 year, downtrend. Up against resistance, perfect place to take a trade. Save it to your watch list. Monster, 1 year, 1 day, downtrend. Coming up to resistance, go ahead and save it. 3M, 1 year, 1 day, downtrend. Coming up into resistance, save it. Malibu Boats, downtrend. Looking for down trades, we're in the red part of the band, means we can take a down trade. Mattel Toys is in the red band, but it's uptrending. No trade. KMB, if you draw a horizontal line across, you'll see the trend indicator going lower, meaning downtrend, down trade. GILD, trend indicator down, which means downtrend, down trade. CYTK, downtrending, down trades. CLX, downtrending, in the top right band, take a down trade. I know that's pretty monotonous, right? Downtrend, down trade, but you got to think about the process. Indicators are an indication of price action. So if the indicator is going downtrend, you need to make a down trade. Now this is just the first step of creating the perfect trade. Now that you have your watch list of tickers, there's no better trade setup than the bearish flag. Once you've downloaded the bearish flag indicator, go ahead and upload it 3 or 4 times. I like to create different lengths so that I can get a different look at each bear flag. Starting with the length of 6, which will give me a small flag, then the length of 12, giving me a bigger one, changing the color, increasing it to 18. You can increase the size of the lines and the color on each one, even going up to 30 or higher will be shown in the blue. Another thing that I do is I take off all of the other study effects by unchecking the boxes, even all the target lines, go ahead and uncheck. I personally save this to bear flags. Now I can review each chart that we saved to do a better analysis. I'm gonna zoom in. At quick glance, we can see the W pattern here, which is the smallest one, did not work out. It raised up in price before selling off. When you're using this smaller pattern, it's best to make sure that it's up against resistance when trading it. As you can see, this was still close to the green area, which means relatively bullish. But the purple bear flag gave us a great entry, selling off 33%. You could have used the midline for a support target or the base of the flag pattern. Yes, you could have used the bottom side of the channel support level as a target, but it already moved 33%. And the bigger demand you put on the stock to move, the less likely it will move that far. Even here, it came just shy of the lower support level. But on to our current trade setup. If you've read our blog on trend lines, you would know that 2 highs with the trend line create resistance. And remember, the trend indicator is an indication of price action. It is not perfect. That's why we need to draw in other lines to confirm. Another line we might want to draw in is a horizontal line off of the top showing more resistance. And another line might be this flag pattern here, channel, draw in support and resistance in, showing you old support becomes new resistance. And you should be considering getting into SGN short in this range. Taking the average down to the target of old support would yield 25% profit. If you're trading options, take all of the highs down to the lows and move them over for an anticipation of the time and price movement you should see. In doing this, it will give you good information on which strike price and what expiration date to pick out of your option choices. As you can see, in anticipation of price going up a little bit higher before selling off back down to the support level, the time for this to play out would be just after the June expiration. If you're aggressive, maybe June is good for you. Or you might want to consider using the July option. On a trade setup like R, again, we can see the smaller bear flag up against resistance works out nicely, giving a big sell-off. But this flag pattern indicator in the middle of the trend did not work out as well. Yes, it did come back to the support level, but that's a small move. In comparison to this one, closer to the range on the outside of the channel, had a bigger sell-off. Plus, it had the confirmation of the bigger bearish flag indicator, giving it 2 reasons why this entry point would be better. But let's talk about where we are today. Downtrend, down trades. If we were to take a line across the high and the other high, like we talked about before with trend lines, you see this is a great resistance level. Old support becomes new resistance, helping identify that this is a good place to take a down trade. Using the same method as before, taking the line tool from the highs to the lows, moving them over to where price currently is, will help give you a target area and an option expiration date. You can see from these 4 different moves, these 2 happen rather quickly, and these 2 are almost identical. Zooming in, giving a nice midpoint for a target. These 2 lines show just before a June expiration, and these 2 are confirming a July expiration. Here we are, monster, using the old highs of the channel. If price action were to come up into this resistance, it'd be a great place to take a trade. Even though it's downtrending, the high probability in the red zone is the trade will work out. Measuring from the highs to the lows, moving those measurements over to anticipate the average of what your trade will do, you can see we have 3 different time frames. One for a June expiration, one for a July expiration, and one would take you all the way out to August. Midpoint target confirmed by 3 different averages of trades before. Lower support level target also confirmed. It might be a little bit of a stretch to get all the way down to this lower band, but time will tell. Here we are on 3M, nice sideways bearish flag with a small bearish flag indicator in there, which is perfect, showing us this overall consolidation. Not entering into the trade here because it's in the middle of the channel, but waiting for the confirmation on the outside. As we've discussed before, midpoint small bearish flags aren't the best place to trade. Even though they typically work out, there's small profits made. What can we expect from this trade setup? Based on past moves, line tool, duplication, and again. And it's up to you how conservative you want to be. Do you want to start your line tool here or here? I like to give it a little bit more room to be on the safe side. Move the line down and get your target. Now this is a great trade. 27% in 2 months, showing you should probably take the July option, take some of your profits off at the midpoint, and let your runners run down to the bottom support level. Malibu boats, old support becomes new resistance, and old resistance is still resistance. You can get into the trade now. If it goes a little bit higher, maybe double down or put your stop loss here. Measure the old moves, move them down to the current price, and again, almost exactly, and again. This is the easiest way, hands down, to find your targets when option trading. Let's zoom in so we can see these 2 levels right here, right around the mid-range. We can see these 4 time frames giving us a July expiration. Which one are you going to choose? KMB, we might be a little late to the party. When you see big moves off of the bear flag pattern like this, that should tell you this area was a significant area of resistance, meaning draw a resistance line, and the next time you see price come up into that resistance, short the trade. Of course, we can see indicators give the indication of price action, which is downtrend. If price comes back up into this upper band, you can take the trade lower. If you're conservative and you like your trade setups to go below the support level before entering to the trade, then this is something for you to consider. Let's measure the old moves, giving us 2 targets. If you are going to wait for this to break the support level, understand there's a high likelihood that you'll have a support bounce here. Old support and a gap fill. Price might stop here for a little bit, go back up into the old support line, which makes new resistance, before falling off to this support level, which is confirmed by these lows. Either way, I would get the July option expiration. GILD, double flag pattern confirmation, ended up working out as it sold off lower. Single smaller bear flag pattern went a little bit higher before finding resistance. But don't throw that signal out. Indicators are an indication of price action. So what can we get from this information? Well, that's a high. That's a high. You can use those 2 points for trend line, which then confirms and shows you a great entry point to take the trade lower. High, another high. Draw your line across, showing you where the price action resistance is. The indicator showing you the indication of this bearish flag pattern. Let's look at old price movement. Highs to lows, duplicated over. Highs to lows. And you can see this has given us one of the longest dated times, putting us all the way to August. Also confirming the 2 ideas of midpoint target and a lower target band. It's amazing how many different ways you can calculate targets. Like this little down move here. You can take that, apply it here, and it confirms with the midpoint. And it also confirms with the lower support level of the bearish flag pattern. Great trade setup for smaller profits. And when I mean smaller profits, that's a 10% move. Next trade setup. We can see we have a lot of consolidation in here. Indicators are an indication of price action, which means this is an amazing bearish flag trade setup. Here's the first flag pull, and we should see that duplicated over here, which would be back to this gap fill lower support level. Let's zoom in. You can see off of these highs, building that trend line, this resistance zone is the perfect area to enter into a trade lower. Duplicating this old move down will give you a good indication of time and movement. You might be a little bit shocked in consideration this is a 40% move. That's a lot of money. It's saying a June expiration, but when you have a lot of money on the table, I would consider a longer dated option. Always remember, where are other places you'll find support because price action will slow down there, as we can see it did here before. If the price action comes down to the midpoint and you don't take your profits, and then it rockets back up into resistance, your June expiration option would be worthless. But we know it's a downtrend, so the down trade should be successful, which it could easily, after hitting a second resistance, start to fall off lower. Another thing I would look at about this trade is maybe it's a head and shoulders, or maybe a Wyckoff distribution, where price hits multiple times at the same level, giving you one impulse breakout, then going much lower. Which with a head and shoulders pattern, or with a Wyckoff distribution, they are range boxes, meaning you would duplicate the range and use the lower level for the target. This puts you at about $12, which again, this would be a huge move. Maybe use 1% of your portfolio. And don't forget to consider the amount of time it would take. This was about 200 days, which would take you to about January if you were using an option. Indicators are an indication of price action. Using all these new tricks might take you a little bit of time to get used to, so trade cautiously. So best of luck trading. I'll see you guys next week.